We, as American citizens, we take so much for granted. We take the freedom of parenting for granted. We take the freedom of raising our children and that aspect for granted, and we really shouldn't. I was amazed and astonished. And Floyd was telling me that in her own country, she can't take for granted the people that she goes to church with. She can't trust them. I'm like, how is that? She was amazed to be in a country where her son could be sitting 2 seats away from her on a bus, and she was okay with that. She said in her country, that just wouldn't happen.
Hi, welcome to the Zan Tyler podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zan Tyler podcast, where our goal is to help you thrive in your homeschool journey. Let me take just a minute to ask you please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen or watch, including YouTube. And if this podcast has been encouraging to you, please leave us a good review. Each review really helps us, and it helps other families like you connect to us. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We also post a lot of content there. This podcast is brought to you by BJU Press Homeschool. Homeschooling is an exciting adventure we take with our children. One of the most challenging parts of this journey is choosing the curriculum you want to use. BJU Press Homeschool is a curriculum you can trust. All the books, resources, and videos have been designed with you and your child in mind. Their curriculum is educationally robust and rich, taking into account that children have different learning styles, strengths, and needs. Mom, you are in charge. BJU Press Homeschool is here to come alongside and support you. Do you need help with the teaching load, or is there a subject you just don't want to teach? Their amazing video courses are available for all grades and almost every subject. BJU Press Homeschool believes that homeschooling can produce a new generation of students who know God, love their neighbors, and stand firm in their faith. For more information, go to bjupresshomeschool.com. That's bjupresshomeschool.com. So today, I'm thrilled to tell you our guest is Clarisa Loparo. Did I say that correctly?
Loparo, yeah.
Clarisa
Mm-hmm.
Loparo, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Clarisa was born in Manhattan to a Venezuelan mom and a Puerto Rican dad. When she was 12, the family moved to Puerto Rico. Consequently, she is fully bilingual. She has a BA in communications from American University. Clarisa and her husband, Vince, have been married since 1987. They have 4 children that she has and is currently homeschooling, and Vince and Clarisa are also grandparents. Clarisa works with homeschool leaders and groups around the globe in her role as coordinator for HSLDA International. So, Clarisa, it is so good to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Zan. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. I just wanted to clarify, we're done homeschooling, if you can believe it.
Oh, you're through now?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have a little bit of an old bio. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Good.
That's okay. Yeah, we are done. Our youngest is pursuing a trade. But after 25 years, we did the homeschooling thing. We loved it. Yes, and I homeschooled through high school. Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about how you grew up. I mean, if you've got a Venezuelan mom and a Puerto Rican dad, did you grow up bilingual? Did they speak Spanish in the household? Where did you live? You know, all those questions.
So, mom and dad, when they wanted to speak about something that they didn't want us kids to understand, they spoke in Spanish. And I was nosy. So I wanted to know what they were saying. So I learned. Another thing was my dad told me at a young age, he said, if you want to talk to your grandmother, you're going to have to speak to her in Spanish. And I said, okay. And yeah, I'll do what you say, you know. And she became a great friend of mine. But Spanish it was. And I learned, it's funny because I learned how to speak it, but I didn't become literate until we moved to the island when I was 12.
To Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico,
Okay.
yes. We moved from New York to Puerto Rico. And my mom was she was so funny because she was a linguistics major in college. And her goal was that she said, now, Clarisa, I don't want you to speak Spanish like your Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. And I was like, why? Why? And she said, because I don't want you to drop letters. So she was a stickler for grammar. But let me tell you, they speak so fast in Venezuela They speak so fast in Argentina. I'm just like, I do speak Spanish. I taught Spanish for a long time. I don't understand the words you're saying. Um, but Spanish is indeed my second language. I love it. I love the people. I love the culture. I stayed in Puerto Rico until I graduated from high school. So from the time I was 12 till I was almost 18. And then I would go back and visit. And then upon graduating from college, I just stayed in the United States with a job, and then I got married, and then I had kids and blah, blah, blah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, it's interesting, because of your job with HSLDA International, I know you're aware of this, but people may not understand the large number of people in Puerto Rico now that are homeschooling. And I was privileged to go with your friend and colleague, Kareem Marato, to
Mhm.
Puerto Rico last year and speak at a leadership event there, but also the first gathering they had of all homeschoolers, which was like 600. They were expecting 50 people. So so it's amazing to see homeschooling, I think, really begin to flourish in, Hispanic countries.
I think it's wonderful, and
I do too.
I'm amazed. So if you live in the United States, Puerto Rico is one of the easiest places in the country to homeschool, and I think that's wonderful. And I just hope that it continues, to grow. In my role at HSLDA, yes, we help the international community understand what homeschooling is and how they can, start the ball rolling in their countries to get homeschooling legalized. In South America, it's very interesting, Zan, because they have in a lot of their constitutions, there's a provision for parents to be involved and to choose the type of education that that their children will pursue. A lot of the times, though, I found people don't understand even what homeschooling is. They look at you like you've got a third horn on on your head, and they're like, "N- I can do what? I can educate my children at home? Why would I want to do that?" When you explain it a little bit to them, they're like, "How come nobody's told me this before?" I'm like, so I think a really important part is just education and letting people know that homeschooling is a viable and good option, for internationally.
So now, did you spend much time in Venezuela? We all want to know more about Venezuela these days. Did you spend much time in Venezuela as a child since your mother was from there?
I didn't. That's a good question. We went when I was I think I was about 15, and we went to visit. Family members always came to visit us in New York and in Puerto Rico. I had an uncle that I was very close to who worked on the metro, in Caracas in Venezuela. Um, HSLDA, we have a contact lawyer in Venezuela who, loves homeschooling, homeschools her kids even though it's not legal. Um, she's a great advocate for homeschoolers, especially in Latin America and in South America. She's a great advocate. Um, but unfortunately, I didn't spend too much time there, in Venezuela. But yes, I understand that everybody's what's going on in Venezuela these days.
We It's so interesting because we're all educating ourselves
Mm,
now,
mhm.
and it's been, I mean, even if when I think I was reading on Wikipedia, it talked about how affluent Venezuela used to be many years ago, before the dictatorships with Chavez and onward took
Yeah.
over, and now how impoverished the country is.
Yes.
And, so but I do know there are some people in Venezuela who are homeschooling,
Yeah.
after meeting this one woman at the National Leadership Conference.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I guess we need to pray for them
Yeah.
during transitions
Yeah.
and just with all the upheaval the nation has been through.
Yes, yes. There's, from my understanding, which is limited, um, for so the current administration there, the current regime, so to speak, was not pro homeschooling because they they didn't like the fact that parents could speak into their children's lives. Because in their minds, right, the children don't belong to the parents. The children belong to the state, which is a big problem. And it's an interesting problem that we see. This is what happens in a communist country. Your children don't belong to you. That's a problem.
Joe and I spoke at the Global Home Education Conference in Russia in
Mm,
2018.
right.
And the thing you learned quickly was when a person is in a communist country, the children are the mere creature of the state. And I'll never forget, we were listening to a priest from the Russian Orthodox Church talk, and we all had translators, in our ears. And he just said that communism wrecked the family in Russia. I mean, he was witness to millions of Christians and hundreds and thousands of churches being destroyed. And he basically said that for Russia to be strong again, they need strong families. And this is the progression. He said you can't have. He said you need strong families for a strong church, and strong churches for a strong country. And it was interesting, and he said, "I'm just gonna" he has gone to be with the Lord since then, and he said, "I'm gonna advocate for homeschooling with all the energy I have in the last years of my life." And so when you talk about in Venezuela, the child is the creature of the mere creature of the state. That word "mere" is there for a reason. We really need to understand the freedom we have in America and why it's worth preserving and why we need to help our brothers and sisters in these other countries.
I think the more I'm in this position, as international coordinator with HSLDA, the more I see. First of all, we as American citizens, we take so much for granted. We take that
Mhm.
freedom, the freedom of parenting, for granted. We take the freedom of raising our children and that aspect for granted, and we really shouldn't. I was amazed and astonished because I was talking to Flor, who is, our contact in Venezuela, and here we go down to Buenos Aires, and she has put this conference together, with like-minded, individuals in Argentina. And I think I was telling you that I was amazed that, there are people so hungry for this, continentally on the continent, that, people were coming. There was a lady that I spoke to who had ridden a bus for like 12 hours just to get to a conference with other like-minded people. We just take that for
On
granted.
homeschooling,
Yeah, of
yes.
homeschoolers, right. We just take that for granted. And Flood was telling me that in her own country, she can't take for granted, the people that she goes to church with. She can't trust them. I'm like, how is that? I mean, it's so foreign to my mind, to my spirit. It's so foreign. But she was giving examples. There's fear. And even while we were in the conference and she got up and spoke, and she said something, she talked about things that you and I wouldn't even think twice about. Her mom was so concerned and called her and said, "Please take that down. They will come after you." Meaning she could disappear. And, they're freedoms that you and I we just take for granted all the time. That, she doesn't. She's just amazed that she was amazed to be in a country where her son could be sitting 2 seats away from her on a bus, and she was okay with that. She says in her country, that just wouldn't happen? So it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
So, if you could just give us a little overview of Latin America. I mean, there are countries where you can homeschool?
I haven't found a country where it's a strange thing in South America and Latin America. Um, there isn't a law. I haven't seen a country with a law that says you can't, unless it's like Cuba or Venezuela, where you can't. You know what I'm saying? When you go to a socialist, a communist country, absolutely, then you can't. There's a law. Usually in Cuba, there's a law. You can't. We have known pastors to be jailed for homeschooling their kids. Okay, so um, and there's no law that says you can't. So a lot of families fall into this gray area. And if the constitution of those countries say that, well, it's up to the parents to decide, then the parents use this kind of gray area to their advantage. And if they have the conviction in their hearts and minds to homeschool their children, then they will, And that's who, like, for example, in Argentina right now, where we went down for this conference, there's no law that says you can't homeschool. Likewise, there's no law that says you can, but there are a lot of people homeschooling. And there's the more knowledge, as you know, the more people are aware of the fact that this is available, this is something that you can do, the more that people want to do it. And now they want to have a law that says that you can choose to homeschool.
Right,
Yeah.
because South Carolina, where where I homeschooled,
Yes.
that's well put. There wasn't a law that said you can't homeschool.
Right.
But when we tried to look into the law that maybe allowed for it was called substantial equivalence. And it provided for school at a place other than home. I
Right.
mean, school at a place other than school.
Right. Other
So,
than school.
yes.
Right. Right.
And so, but those laws can be used they can be used for you, and they can really be used against
Right.
you,
Right.
because I saw it. I was threatened with
Yes,
jail
you were.
based on one
Yes.
of those laws.
Yes, you were.
And so we really need to be praying for our friends and our brothers and sisters in Christ in these countries
Yes.
where they are really fighting
Right.
for the right, where they can homeschool
Right.
without
That's right.
fear.
That's right. Without fear. I think that's a big thing because homeschooling is as wonderful as it is, it can be daunting for some. And
Oh, I think, you know what? If you're honest, homeschooling can be daunting at different times for all of us.
to remove that fear would be awesome. Because then you just have to deal with the other stuff. So
Yes,
that's like,
yes.
yeah. So
So,
we'll just wait and see. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we're so thankful for the work that HSLDA, you and others are doing in the Latin American
We are
countries
so blessed to be
for,
able to do it. Yeah. We are so
yeah,
blessed. Yeah.
that's really amazing. So tell me how you and your husband got into homeschooling.
We kind of fell into it by accident. I was a high school teacher. I taught, believe it or not, Spanish. In high school. And I thought, oh, I'll never teach. I'll never teach elementary school kids. I'll never do that. I'll never happen. It'll never happen, because the thought of having a classroom full of high schoolers didn't faze me. The thought of having a classroom full of adolescents, not a problem. I'm not afraid of adolescents. I love adolescents. The thought of having a classroom full of 7-year-olds terrified me. I was like, I love kids. I love, you have kids, so and so has kids. That's great. I love them. That's great. But I don't want to be their teacher. So our oldest at the time, he had the chicken pox, and he came home with his books, and the teacher said, we were living in Ohio at the time, and he was attending a little private school, because I knew up there, especially, I don't know what the situation is like now, but up there, the public school system wanted to integrate or wanted to use a curriculum that taught witchcraft and how to make spells and things like that. And I was like, I was not going to put my kids in that, that kind of thing. So our kids were our oldest was in a little private Christian school up in Ohio, and he had to come home with the chicken pox for a couple weeks. And the teacher sent home his stuff, and she said, well, he's got to do before he comes back. I was like, okay. And then he got it done so quickly. He got it done, something like by lunchtime he was done. I was like, what is he doing all day? What's he doing all day? And then and the teacher kept wanting to put him on medication, because she kept saying he's ADHD. I'm like, are you a doctor? And she, no, I'm not a doctor, but I wanted, because she wanted to control him. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
And
That's right.
he wasn't fitting her little mold. So we had him
Yes.
tested, and he did not test for, hyperactivity. He tested for genius. So I was like, what am I going to do now? So we moved from Ohio. We were coming to Virginia. So I called the public school system here in Virginia, which is where we live in Loudoun County. It's one of the, it's going to be one of the most premier, school systems in the country, blah, blah, blah. So I called them and I said, first of all, private school was way too much money here. There was no way that we could do it. And Vinci at that point was finishing up the first grade. They don't even test for kids to go in the gifted program until the child is in the mid to the end of third grade. And I was like, I can't do this for another year. Thank you very much. So I elected to keep him home. And then his brother stayed home. Then his sister stayed home. And then our other daughter went for a little bit, but she came home. We didn't look back. We didn't look back. We have this do or die rule here in Virginia that in my county especially, like when they hit ninth grade ninth grade high school, you have to decide whether you're going to put them in or not. And we would pray every year, Lord, what are we going to do with this kid? And for each kid, the Lord told us, home, 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 right? And so we got to the one kid when he hit ninth grade. Out of 4 children, we felt the freedom to send one to high school. And so we brought it to him and we said, because let's say in the 11th grade you decided this kid's got to go, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
They would put that kid back into the ninth
Back
grade.
in the 9th grade.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
that's why we call it the do or die thing. So
yes.
so this child in the ninth grade, we said, okay, we have the freedom. Do you think you can go? Do you want to go to public school? And he looked at us. He said, no. And I was relieved. And I said, why? He said, because I'll cry every day. And yeah, it's interesting because he's a missionary. We call him our missionary kid. He's a public school teacher. He loves kids, but he's like, Mom, somebody's got to witness to these kids. Somebody's got to love them. I'm like, because not everybody has the opportunity, unfortunately, to homeschool. And I get it. I get it. So he's in the school system and he's loving these kids. But it's an interesting thing. He chose not to go. We have one of our daughters, we call her the hybrid. Because I don't have a Bunsen burner at home. So she took chemistry at the high school. I'm like, I can teach. She's science minded. So we just looked and looked, what's the best way to get her what she needs? And that's the beauty of homeschooling is what can I get my child what they need? What's going to help them learn or help them reach their potential? And that's something we did, for our kids. And that's what you can do as a high schooler. It's beautiful.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So, Clarissa, after 25 years of homeschooling, what would you say are the greatest benefits or advantages?
I think one of the greatest benefits, if not the greatest benefit, is the relationship that we have with our kids. I mean, they're adults now, ranging from ages 34 to 20. And they'll call us, they'll ask us questions. They have kids of their own. Some of them do. Most of them are married. I think the biggest thing was is the relationship that we have with them now. I think that happened during homeschooling. The other thing was being able to give them what they needed. We laugh and joke, but there's some things, like, for example, we would all go to the library together, right? And they would take out the books that they found interesting. So our oldest boy would take out like field guides of all kinds and all sorts. And he would take out tank field guides. He would take out ammunition. Well, for a while, we thought he was going to go into the military because he was so fascinated by this stuff. Gun field guides, bird field guides, amphibians field guides, you name it. Our second one, he loved fiction. So at the time he was reading Brian Jakes, which is the little animals, he just loved all that stuff. He'd take out those books. Our daughter loved cookbooks. She's a food scientist. Go figure. And then our littlest one that we adopted, she didn't. She was like, picture books, whatever. So, but at lunchtime then, I'd be preparing lunch and they would crack open their books. And the books were all tailored to what it is that they were interested in. I didn't really care. I'm like, they're reading what they need to read. So that's, I think those are the things that I found the most advantageous is being able to give them what they needed.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So,
Yeah.
as we wrap up today, um, Is there anything you want to share with moms and dads that would encourage them?
I would tell just don't be shy. Stay with it. Everybody's got good days and bad days. There are times where I would tell my husband would come home from work and I'd say, "We're all going on the yellow school bus tomorrow. Everybody, including mommy, we're all going on the yellow school bus." And he would look at me and say, "Okay, let's talk about it. And where are you? Not for anything, ladies. It's not the do all, the end all, but where are you on your cycle? Ask that question, you know?" And he would say, I can say this to you, you can cut this out, whatever. And he would say, depending on what my answer was, he would say, "Let's give that a week to marinate and talk about it. Then after a week, if you want them all to go to military school, then we'll talk about it again." Usually that's what I needed. I needed someone to listen and not say, "Oh, you're crazy," and pitch it. You know what I mean?
I do. I
Yes.
do. We had I can't believe you said that about military school because when our son hit the ninth grade, he was just we were having a really bad week. And I mean, he's so lovable and charming, but I was mad at him. And I said, "Okay, if you don't straighten up, we have a military academy about 20 miles from us." I said, "I'm going to call Camden Military Academy and get all the information." And so it's hilarious. The book came in and the catalog came in. Ty loved it. I mean, Ty looked at it and he said, "Oh, mom, this looks amazing," because like you, he was fascinated with hunting and the military and all of that. And he said, "But can we really afford this? It's pretty expensive." So so talk about your all-time backfire. But we hung in there for another week, and you're right. We just
Just give some time. I always tell parents, just give it some time. This is gonna blow over. I think of another time. I have to laugh now. I was between two of the kids. They were doing their homeschooling, right? And they were not doing their homeschooling. They were bickering with each other. And I got up and I said to one and turned around and to the other and sat down and broke the chair. I was like, and those poor kids, they didn't know whether do we laugh? If we laugh, we're gonna die. We're not gonna laugh, that kind of it's that but those moments, that you have, you wouldn't have those. You wouldn't have those moments.
Right,
You wouldn't
that's
have
right.
I would call, especially when the girls reach puberty, the laughing, crying moments. They'd laugh 1 second, cry the next, laugh 1 second. I'm like, you wouldn't have those moments. And then being able to talk to them about the word of God, um, that doesn't happen in school, you know? Being able to really take, what they're experiencing with, let's look at this real life, like I would tell my students, because I taught homeschoolers for a long time, for like 20 years. I taught them Spanish, right? I would tell them, when you get to heaven, God isn't going to say, "Did you get a B on your Spanish, exam, or did you get a C on your Spanish exam? Did you get an A or whatever?" He's going to want to know, "Did you know my son? Did you know him?" And that's what's important. You can't do that. You can't do that if the kids go to school. I'll never forget, my son was about 21, 20 maybe. He was in college. He was living away. And he called us one day. He called me. He said, "Hey, mom, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm fine." I'm like, up to here, homeschooling his younger sister. I'm like, whatever. And he says, "Mom, I know what you did." I'm like, "Oh, Lord, what did I do?" I'm like, "What I do?" I said, I was laughing. I said, "What did I do?" He goes, "I know what you did." I said, "What did I do?" He goes, "You put your dreams on hold for us."
Oh, man, those are the moments to die for, aren't they? That's
That gets
amazing.
you. It gets
Mhm.
you where it counts.
That's right.
Yep.
That
So they
that
understand. They understand. And they might not get it today. They might not get it tomorrow, but they will get it.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
they might not get it till you're gone, but they will get it. They
Yeah,
will get it.
that's
They'll
right.
understand. Yeah. So,
Well, Clarissa, thank you so much for taking the
oh, thank
time
you.
to be with us today. If
Thank
people
you.
want to get in touch with you or HSLDA about homeschool Hispanic homeschooling, or just to find help within or and support within the Hispanic community for their homeschool,
Right.
how can they get in touch with you?
They could get in touch, especially with my colleague Karim, because she does domestic homeschooling, right? So if
Yes.
we have an international person out there in TV land and podcast land who's curious about homeschooling in their country, they could reach me. I'm the international coordinator at HSLDA, and we are at 540 338 5600. And our website is hslda.org.org. And you could reach me or you could reach my colleague, Karim, there if you have any questions about homeschooling domestically, and you're Hispanic, 'cause she's great at what she does too. So, but thank you. It's been such an honor, Zia. And thank you so much for thinking of me. And thank you for your pioneering work in
Mm.
homeschooling and for having it continue. And tell
Well,
your husband I said I.
I will do it. I will do it.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
and I also want to thank our sponsor, BJU Press Homeschool, for having such a heart for helping the Hispanic community in homeschooling. We have several of our consultants who are bilingual. We have had a Hispanic Leadership Summit at BJU Press for leaders in the Hispanic community, homeschool community, to support them. We have put out some product. All of our videos are in English. Our textbooks are in English, but we do have support for the parents in Spanish. And so you can go to homeschoolhelp.com/map, and you can no, let's redo that. You can go to homeschoolhelp.com or to find out more about getting help with homeschooling in general, or getting help if you're Hispanic and you need some help in that regard. And you can reach me at zantyler.com. I will be no help with your Spanish, but I can put you in touch with the right people. And so you are welcome to contact me through my website. We want to thank you so much for being here with us today. Clarisa, thank you. It just renews my heart to pray for our friends in Venezuela, in Argentina, wherever they happen to be in Latin America, the Latin American world. You are in our prayers, and so just thank you for being here. And
Thank you.
we pray that the Lord just continues to bless you all in your homeschooling journey. Until
Amen.
next time, bye.
Bye bye.